Okay, so this happened back in the summer of 2023, a year from now, as it's currently the summer of 2024. So I work for the big retail company Costco. What I was doing at that time was I was a cart attendant. So I would move the cars from the parking lot and then back to the front of the store. So there was this one incident on this one day, probably around the afternoon or so. And then all of a sudden I hear this loud bang. Well, I look up and I see a car move forward and then reverse backwards and then hit the car behind it, making another loud bang. But then the one guy who was in the car that got hit was out and then said, "What the hell, man? You're hurting my dog." So apparently he had a dog in the car with him as well. Well, I then hear the guy say like some numbers or something, most likely getting the license plate number of the guy. But then I see a whole bunch of other people surrounding the car and then saying to the guy, "Hey man, what the hell are you doing?" And the crazy part about it is that I was really close to it. Then this one customer said to me, "Hey, can you radio management?" To which I told him, yeah, of course. Us cart attendants don't actually carry walkies on us, so I full on ran to the front of the store to try and go get the management. But they were already alerted by one of my coworkers from afar who had saw all of the commotion. Probably one of those workers who click in people when customers show him or her their membership card, or checking people's receipts whenever they're leaving. I mean, I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about if you ever shopped at Costco or Sam's Club. Anyways, I get into the front of the store and management are already coming out, and they're full on running or at least walking fast to see what the hell the freaking commotion is all about. Well, as they were walking, they told me and my coworkers to call 911, and then one of my coworkers said to one of my managers, "Hey, be careful, he might have a gun." To which I was just like, "Oh shit, he has a gun?" And so I went back inside the building to take cover, just in case the guy would shoot, which luckily didn't happen. When the police got there, there were like not one, but 5 cop cars. And of course, later on, the guy got arrested and was taken to jail. They had parked his car in a spot which now had a few dents in it and took him away. To top it off and make it even worse, I had heard the guy had a kid with him in the car, like a baby or something. So that's a whole nother charge that he got right there. So the management had to direct traffic and stuff while the police took care of the whole thing. I don't know if it was true or not, or maybe it was just rumors that the guy had pulled out a gun, but I guess we'll never really know for sure. But yeah, that was one hell of a crazy and scary experience. Back in the year of 2021, I was working at a construction job out in the Bay Area of California. We would always meet up with each other early in the mornings and carpool to the job sites. Well, one morning I had met up with my coworker Jay so he could drive us to work. I get into his car and we start talking about the city that we're going to for the job. He grew up in the city, and I've only ever worked there, so I'm not too familiar. He knew an area that had overpeaked a view of the entire city from a beautiful distance, so he had offered to drive me and him up there to have a before-work blunt and a beautiful morning view along with it. The second we pull up, I had literally enough time to pull out my phone and take a picture of the view before another car all of a sudden speeds up to us, slams on its brakes till the car came to a complete stop right in front of ours. Jokingly, my coworker Jay then said, "They look a little excited to see the view, don't they?" Now, what happened after he said that happened so fast that I didn't even have time to close out my camera app after taking my picture before Jay had already put the car in drive and then floored it out of there. That guy just tried to rob us or something," Jay just said to me. Now finally realizing what situation we're in and why Jay was driving like a maniac down these curvy roads, I had felt my heart drop to my stomach when I saw the same car in the rearview mirror now right in our tail. He was gaining on us. And yeah, he had actually hit us a couple of times. The maniac chased us up for damn near 4 miles through these roads. We end up coming to a stop sign with a 4-way intersection, forcing Jay to have to slow down the car and giving the guy a chance to impact us with full speed. He hits us, the car spins out of control and then hits a pole and comes to a complete stop. "The car's totaled," Jay says. Before I could even respond, Jay looks back and takes his seatbelt off and then says, "Yeah man, we gotta go." The maniac was still fucking after us. I was still taking off my seatbelt and ready to run as fast as I could the hell out of there. But right as I got out of the car, the guy pulled up right next to us and was getting out of his car as well. I then ran faster than I ever have in my entire life before looking back at the guy just one time. I saw him smiling and laughing and holding a gun to me and Jay as we then ran away. Yes, an actual gun. He must have never even shot a gun before, because he did fire shots at us, and I remember hearing them soar past my ear a couple of times, but he missed us. Well, me and Jay ended up running into an elementary school and hopped the fence to get in and hide. I know what you're all thinking. Wait, you were being chased by someone potentially dangerous and you lead them into a school of all places? Yeah, I know how horrible it sounds, but when your life is in danger and you have nowhere else to hide or run to, you'll go wherever you'll know you'll have a chance of staying alive no matter where it is. So we had hopped the fence to the school and then split up. I ended up hiding behind some dumpsters at this school where a teacher had spotted me and actually asked me if I needed help. I pretty much told her in the fastest and best way I could my situation, and she had called the principal and they actually put the school on lockdown until the cops showed up. I never left my hiding spot until the cops came. I then gave my statement, but the guy was never to be seen again. Moral of the story: always be extra careful going anywhere late at night or early morning like that. There really are a lot of crazy people out there. This literally just happened to me about an hour ago as I'm driving back home from work. As I'm at an intersection not too far from my house, there was a car from the opposite side of the road turning to where I'm going and we almost hit each other. We both stopped on time and it was no biggie, but the guy in the car is noticeably yelling at me from inside of his car, giving me the middle finger. Alright, so I let him go ahead, and I thought that would be the end of road rage for tonight. Boy, was I wrong. Immediately after I let the guy through, behind him was a car turning very fast, so I accelerated and then quickly got in front of him. Not out of ego or anything. I just thought that considering the position of my car in the turning lane, it's not likely that this dumbass would hit me. Right afterwards, this guy is obviously pissed off and starts flickering his extremely bright lights at me for a minute straight. It was annoying as shit, considering something brighter than the damn sun is now shining at me for a whole minute, and you can tell that it's fucking hard to navigate at night like that. So I said to myself, okay, two can play this game, fucker. And I slowed down to 20 miles an hour from 50 for about a minute or so. Still flickering his lights, but not as much at this point. At this point, I was getting close to home and then turned into my subdivision, thinking this whole saga would then end in there. But holy shit. This guy follows me into my maze of a neighborhood, and I get near my house and he's still following me. I freak the fuck out, wondering should I just park in my driveway and he'll go away, or should I just go into a random neighborhood and then lose him there? So as soon as I passed my house, I decided to go right past it and into another neighborhood a couple of minutes away, and he still follows me exactly there. At this point, I had left that neighborhood and I just fucking jumped on my gas pedal and then sped down the road and made a random right turn. At this point, he's still following me, but it's a red light for him, so thankfully he stops, and then after that, he lost me. Honestly, this was a scary experience for me, considering that my suburb isn't too far from very dangerous neighborhoods where gunshots can often be heard. Who knows what would have happened if I had stopped my car at home? Maybe this guy would have pulled out a gun and shot me. It's just really fucking creepy how this road-raged asshole easily followed me to my house in an obvious attempt to scare me. What the hell is wrong with people? One morning back in high school, I accidentally cut someone off on my way to campus. I felt bad, but I thought that a quick apologetic wave would be the end of it. Not so. The guy got angry, passed me on a double yellow because he was in a hurry or something. And then, this is where it gets weird. He changed his mind, pulled over to the side of the road so I could pass, and then began following me. Knowing that this wasn't going to end well if he was still with me when I stopped, I took a long winding route to school. Not evasive maneuvers, but just a path that wouldn't make it clear where I was headed and would hopefully make him give up after a while. Nope, the fucker stayed right on my tail the whole way. I finally headed for the school parking lot when it got dangerously close to me being late for class, and as I parked, I could see him waiting for me to get out. At this point, I've got my backpack in one hand and my ice scraper in the other. I don't know why I thought that would be intimidating. Sure, it had a metal blade, but not exactly an ideal weapon. But anyways, I then get out of my vehicle. He looks surprised and then just says, "Oh, I didn't know you were a kid." I wish I could say something witty like, "If you're in such a hurry, why did you stop and follow me here?" But really all I managed to say was, "Yeah, and?" He just told me to have a good day at school and drove off. I still marvel at the fact that had I been closer to his age, he probably would have attacked me. So I'm driving from Tampa to New Orleans, and at the time I had a Jaguar XF Supercharged. It's a pretty awesome highway car with decent power when you need it, 420 horsepower. I had just passed Tallahassee when I noticed that a car behind me was driving suspiciously close. It was 2 in the morning, and no matter where I would go, he would stay right behind me. I couldn't think of what I had done to upset him because I was going 75 and a 70 on cruise control in the right lane of an empty highway. He was now visibly furious and had been following me for about 20 minutes. I figured I would pull into a rest stop and let him pass me. I waited until the last minute to take the exit ramp. I had been taking this whole situation lightly up until this point. He swerved his Prius over the gravel because he almost didn't follow me. He was now even more angry than before. I was getting the high beam treatment and horns, so I continued right back into the highway without even stopping. I was still foolish enough to think that I was safe. The Prius had moved over a lane, but only so he could pass me and start brake checking me. He boxed me out and then wouldn't allow me to safely pass. He was willing to slow his car down to a complete stop on the highway, so I knew slowing down wouldn't do me any good. In an effort to put in some distance between us, I was able to get around him and then gun the Jag. I didn't stop until he was a distant pair of angry flashing lights. I still wish I knew what I'd done to make him so mad. In total, this guy had followed me for about 40 minutes. What a lunatic. You see, this one might be a little different than what you're used to hearing, because I was the road rager. Some will call it bullshit, some will say I'm an absolute psycho, but this really did happen. Now, I'm generally a pretty relaxed guy on the road. Want to get in front of me? Sure, I'm in no rush. Need to pass? Let me move over to the right so you can do 20 over the limit. But there was one incident that I reacted worse to than I think I've reacted to anything else on the road ever. This was either my best or my worst experience, I guess depending on your viewpoint. It's rush hour on Friday, and I'm coming home after picking up my daughter from school. My daughter is in her child's seat in the back, strapped in and safe, and sleeping like only a child can do. We're at a 4-way intersection. Each direction in this intersection has the same arrangement. There's one lane for turning left, another lane for going straight, and a third lane for turning right. All 4 directions have no turn on red signs. The traffic lights all work the same way. The left arrows in opposing directions turn green first, allowing upwards of 8 cars to go through before they turn red. Then the straight and right turn light turns green to allow those cars to go through. Easy enough. I'm 5 or 6 cars back waiting to turn left. The left turn light turns green and we start moving through. As I come around the corner, I see a Mustang convertible going way too fast for the traffic. He reaches the stop line for the right turn lane just as I'm about 3/4 through the intersection. And rather than stop like he's supposed to, he guns his engine, blows the red light, and then misses ramming into my car door by molecules. Well, I lean back on my horn as I jerk the car to the left to avoid hitting him. He flips me off as he guns his engine again and cuts right in front of me. this time missing my front bumper by a fraction of an inch before he slams on his brakes to try and get me to rear-end him. My vision goes red. In my mind, this guy just tried to kill my daughter. He barely deserves to live. There's nothing else in my mind, but I resolve to try and let it go. I'll just go home and leave it at that. Be a good boy, right? There's another traffic light a few hundred feet ahead. This is a T intersection. We can turn left or right. I need to turn left to go home. Well, Mustang driver turns left too. He sees me behind him and he flips me off yet again. I ignore it. We travel about 1/4 mile up the road and I need to make a right turn. The Mustang driver puts his right turn signal on as well. Then, possibly thinking that I was following him, pulls over into the shoulder, 100 feet from the turn, and waves me past. Blood still pounding in my ears. I react. I snap. I put my car in front of his, preventing him from moving forward. I slam the car in park and then leap out to confront him. He's already out of the car. He's shorter than me, and he's more stocky. I've got reach on him, but all else being equal, he's probably stronger than me. But right now I'm running on just pure rage, so his potential strength advantage doesn't even matter. I vaguely hear him say something. I shout over him, screaming obscenities and asking what the fuck his problem is. I shove him hard into his own car. He shoves me back, but I'm a rock now, and he barely even moves me. I slam him against his car and put my arm across his throat. He's trying to open his car door. I reach into his open window and press the log down with one hand while shoving his hand away from the handle. I then grab him by the neck and drag him over to my car, screaming bloody murder. I showed him my daughter in the back seat and told him that he almost killed her. I then let him go. He takes a step back, but then he moves towards his car again. I was still seeing red. I punched him with an open hand strike to his throat. He went down on a knee, his hand to his throat. I then put my knee into his temple, and hard. He fell and went fetal, holding his head in both hands, coughing and sputtering. I pulled out my Leatherman and opened the blade. I slashed 2 of his tires and put 3 huge slashes in his convertible roof. He had by this time crawled to the curb. I put my Leatherman away and went to return to my car when I noticed that his wallet was still sitting on the console of his car. I unlocked and opened the door and then took it. I also turned off his ignition and took his keys. In his wallet, I had found and removed his driver's license. Then I went back to him at the curb. I threw his wallet at him and I showed him that I had his driver's license. Therefore, I knew who he was and where he lives, and that if he ever thought about doing anything against me, it would mean the end of everything that he's ever known. I then pocketed his keys, got back into my own car, and drove home. On the way home, there's a bridge that goes over a large and fairly deep pond. I threw his keys out the window and over the edge of the bridge into the water below. So, a few days later, the local newspaper comes out, and in the police blotter section, there's a mention of the incident. It was rightfully dubbed a road rage incident, and the perpetrator, me, was unidentified. The victim required an ambulance and was treated at the scene, but they were ticketed for failure to produce a license and an expired registration, as well as driving without insurance, and his car was impounded. A few weeks later, I had drove past his house and I saw his car in the driveway with his new tires and his roof held together with duct tape. This happened a few years ago. I still have his license, and the cops have never once come knocking on my door. Every year at Christmas, I anonymously mail him a photocopy of his driver's license, just so he knows to never fuck with me again.